One peculiar night around 2 a.m., I found myself in the kitchen fetching a drink. And then, a sudden bark from outside. This is unusual considering my neighbors are quite a distance away from me, but not entirely unusual. I often let my dog out during the night so he can go relieve himself. But what struck out to me was that I couldn't remember letting him out. I blame not remembering to a memory lapse caused by my multiple sclerosis, a relatively common occurrence for me. I called out to him and then went to check on him at the base of the wheelchair ramp where he usually be. However, he was not there. This is highly unusual, given his excellent training and quick responsiveness to my calls. Frustration crept in, as his behavior was entirely out of character for him. As I glanced outside into the pitch darkness, the dim light from our solar spotlight revealed something odd. It was my dog, but something was off about him. His hind legs, taller than his front ones, and strangely, I couldn't see his typically ever-wagging, fluffy tail. He stood there barking at me, and his bark sounded off too. It sounded almost as if a human was trying to imitate a dog bark. It was a good imitation, but it was not a dog bark. Chalking it up to my tired state and lack of caffeine, I began slowly descending the ramp. Suddenly, I heard something clawing and snarl behind me. It was my dog. His usually adorable face was now a menacing, angry one. It was a sight of him I'd never seen before, sending a chill down my spine. Realizing something was amiss, I hurried inside, securing the door behind me. I couldn't help but wonder, what the heck was that outside my home? I couldn't shake off the feeling that something was off. I looked at my dog, who was still growling at whatever was outside. The sight of my dog, with his hair standing on end, an eerie sight for a usually friendly golden retriever. He seemed unsettling, even to me, his trusted handler. Seeing him like this made me more wary of what was outside. I was thankful for him though, because I don't know what would have happened if I continued approaching the creature outside. I sought solace at my computer. I logged out and attempted to put the incident out of my mind. The night passed with my dog lying on my feet as I tried to sleep, sensing an unnerving vigilance in his presence. It wasn't until later, when I delved into some native legends, that I found out a plausible explanation. I wished I hadn't. I finally told my husband about the incident. His Native American heritage exposed him to tales of the supernatural. After telling him immediately, he mentioned the term Skinwalker. This only confirmed my suspicions. The mere thought sends shivers down my spine to this day, considering the implications of that encounter. Let me start off by saying that my wife doesn't believe in paranormal entities or anything of that nature. We have 3 cats and one of them likes to be a rebel, jumping onto counters and meowing at the top of his lungs, just looking for attention. He does this throughout the night, and it's a regular occurrence. Last night, after a few beers and video games, I decided it was time to head to bed with my wife. When I woke up this morning, my wife was basically attached to me, with wide eyes and a nervous look on her face. I asked her what was wrong, and she proceeded to tell me what happened last night. She said that around 2:50 in the morning, she was woken up to a noise that sounded like one of our cats downstairs, meowing unusually loud. After giving herself a few seconds to perk up and fully pay attention, she said that the meow sounded more like a person trying to mimic a cat, and it kept saying hello. After meowing for 2 to 3 minutes, a loud bang came from our door, and then a notification went off for a motion sensor at our front door. When she told me this, I checked my phone, and sure enough, there was a notification for a motion detected at 2:52 a.m. I asked her why she didn't wake me up so I could grab my gun. She said she was frozen with fear and didn't want it to hear her make a noise. We're out running errands while I'm typing this, but something made me uncomfortable about her story. Last night, I set the home security alarm around 9 p.m., and we didn't turn it off till we walked the dogs this morning. We had slept with our animals in the room, and the room was closed. So whatever was in our house, or outside the front door, was not one of our animals. Obviously, the first thing that came to my mind was a skinwalker, but maybe I'm just being paranoid. I checked all the rooms after I got up. I'm not sure what I could have done. It's very odd that my wife was scared so badly by something she doesn't necessarily believe in. We bought this house brand new, so no one has lived in here before. When I'm home alone, I do feel like I'm being watched or someone's always walking directly behind me. My wife also said that the house has given her chills since we moved in. Something is just off about it. We just got home and I went to hang up one of my shirts in the master bedroom closet when I noticed the board that covers the attic access has been shifted a little. When I asked my wife about it, she said she's never been up there and the builders would have placed it back in its original place before we moved in. I'm genuinely getting anxious just thinking about what could be going on. Has anyone had any experience like this, or similar at least? We're going to my mother-in-law's to get some sage. My wife said burning it should keep whatever's around the house away. When I was 10 years old, my mother and I lived in poverty in the mountains of Santa Cruz. Fortunately, a friend of my mother owned a vast piece of property there. He generously allowed us to stay in a small trailer situated right beside a garden. The garden was encircled by a tall chain link fence, meant to ward off not just the owner's dog, but also wildlife coming to the area. Inside the fenced area stood a solitary, tiny structure resembling a miniature house. It was a single room, equipped with electricity, a stark contrast to our own trailer, which lacked this amenity. Consequently, I spent a substantial amount of time in that room, primarily due to my ardent passion for video games. This fenced-off area represented only a fraction of the expansive property, most of which was engulfed by thick, dense forest. Despite the allure of the untamed wilderness, my ventures beyond the fence were limited, primarily due to the owner's dog, who was sketchy to put it mildly. He'd been mistreated by kids before, and was always on edge around me. I steered clear because that dog would have easily taken a chunk out of me if I'd been alone. As long as that gate stayed shut, I felt safe enough. This seclusion had its perks. Occasionally, I'd invite friends over for sleepovers. They found the setting fascinating, almost akin to camping out. Except we had the luxury of a designated room and could indulge in uninterrupted gaming sessions all night long. However, the tranquility of the sanctuary vanished with the onset of nightfall. The absence of city lights plunged us into profound darkness. The trailer remained unlit, and the lack of bathroom within the room necessitated forays into the pitch-black garden. Strange occurrences were uncommon. We'd hear peculiar noises, sometimes akin to manual labor or eerie shadows, but rational explanations usually put our minds at ease. Yet one peculiar night stood out amid all these peculiarities. My friend Jacob and I were deeply engrossed in playing Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles until the early hours around 2 a.m. Abruptly, a rumbling emanated from the woods behind our room, akin to the sound of a hefty object being dragged. This startled me, despite Jacob's attempt to shrug it off, but it's not like there was someone else's house or yard right over there. It was forest for miles, and it sounded like someone was constructing something, or dragging or rolling something really big. Eventually, Jacob convinced me to play some more games. I agreed on the condition that we turn the volume down so we could hear. We started playing, and I didn't even notice the noise stop, because I was so focused on the video game. A couple hours later, Jacob had to use the restroom, which meant he had to walk in the darkness to get to the restroom. I was feeling okay at that point, so I didn't mind being left alone. A while passed, and he still wasn't back, so I decided to go check on him. Besides, I also needed to use the restroom, and wanted to get a snack while there. I opened the door to leave, and there he was, standing on the doorway, facing me. He scared the crap out of me. I asked what he was doing, and he just stood there, blocking the exit. I figured he must have snuck up to the door because I couldn't hear footsteps. Weird, because I could hear him walk away when he left, so there's no reason why I couldn't hear him sneak up on me like that. I kept trying to get him to say something, but he wouldn't budge. He just stood there, creepily staring at me. It wasn't unlike him to prank or scare me, so I just brushed past him. But when I briefly made contact with him, his body was ice cold to the touch. I didn't give it much attention, given it was a very chilly night. Off I went and walked towards the trailer to use the restroom. I quickly checked on my mom. She was fast asleep. Then I walked towards the restroom. I went to open the door, but it was locked. I heard a nervous voice say, I'm in here. I quickly turned to look for Jacob in the direction of the room, but he wasn't there. There was no way he snuck into the restroom. The trailer floors are very creaky and loud. I froze in terror and yelled. A panicked yelp woke my sleeping mother. She looked outside and found nothing amiss. Jacob came out of the restroom, looking normal, but a bit confused. I explained to Jacob what happened, but insisted he hadn't left the restroom, saying he was just taking a long time. Both my mom and Jacob didn't believe me, no matter how much I insisted. My mom just said it was my tired brain playing tricks on me, and Jacob thought I was just trying to prank him. My mom grabbed a big flashlight and walked us back to the room. She told us to sleep, and she walked back to the trailer. After a while, I managed to calm myself and convince myself that it was just my imagination. I was starting to fall asleep when all of a sudden my neighbor's dog started to go nuts barking. This startled me and made me jump out of bed. Jacob started laughing at me, but that laughter turned into silence when we heard the dog start to whimper and ran away. We looked at each other in silence, wondering what could have caused the dog to whimper. And then, all of a sudden, we heard a long scratching sound all along the back wall. We tried to be quiet, and then it stopped. In a bid to seek help, Jacob ventured out to find my mother, but before that, he armed himself with a tennis racket. He ran out, and I quickly closed the door. Moments later, I heard him scream, and then he returned. Visibly shaken, he recounted seeing my mom outside the fence. Her face morphed into an eerie smile, he said, before he realized that it was impossible due to the fence and the fact that our trailer is on this side of the fence. Terrified, we barricaded ourselves inside, tormented by the scratches echoing from all sides of the room. At one point, I thought I heard my mom's voice coming from beyond the walls, repeating,
"What's wrong? Go to sleep. What's wrong? Go to sleep. What's wrong? Go to sleep."
With the break of dawn, my real mom came to our rescue. She knocked, but we wouldn't open. We were so frightened, she had to break down the door to get us. Haunted by that inexplicable experience, we left soon after. That memory remains etched in my mind, a chilling reminder of that inexplicable, harrowing night.